Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jono. Today is episode 4 of our series where we modify V60s. So let's jump into it. Today we're going to talk about agitation during the bloom phase. Now, as always, my control recipe will be linked up here. Please have a look at that if you haven't. There are a lot of recipes for V60 that require you to agitate during the bloom phase. Now, as a rule, I generally don't, but we're going to see what effects it has on the beverage when we do, and then we're going to manipulate the bloom as well to see what other flavors we can get. Okay, we're going to jump straight into our tests. We're going to have our control coffee, which will be our standard 50-gram bloom for 30 seconds, non-agitated. And then we're going to go to our test coffee, which will be that same 50 grams for 30 seconds, but I will agitate it 6 times forward and backwards. Okay, we've got our coffees now, we've got our control and our test. Now, this is probably the most contentious issue or point that I have to make with V60s. I generally just don't like agitation of the bloom as part of the beverage. The reason why I say that is because, the bloom is there to wake the coffee up, to make it conducive to releasing its flavors, to oxidize it and to release its CO2. And when you muck around with that, or when you touch that, or when you push that, or do anything to that, you are fundamentally changing the basis of your beverage. In saying that, that is just my personal opinion. And I'm doing this little series because I want to uncover as much as I can about V60s and brewing methods and what's great and what's going to work for specific roast levels and all that sort of stuff. So let's dive in and taste the coffees. Just quickly before we get started, as always, I run the coffees through the refractometer just before, but yes, we get the same strength levels because we have started with the same amount of coffee and we end up with the same amount of yield. So there is no extraction difference in the coffees. Okay, first with our control coffee. Yeah, super sweet, jasmine tea, orange blossom, and florals. Sits really, really well balanced on the tongue, right in the middle of the tongue. And the mouthfeel is very silky and syrupy. Now to our test coffee. Okay, let's go again. Now these are exactly the same coffees as you saw. It's a high quality geisha. What we've done though, by changing what we did with the bloom, by agitating that bloom, we've changed the acidities completely. Right, it's gone from being super balanced and right in the middle of the tongue with a silky mouthfeel to being on the sides of my tongue and really quite sour. So it's kind of got that feeling of sucking your cheeks in. And what that does, it's kind of taken away a bit of the silkiness in the mouthfeel. So there might be something that you're after in your beverage, but we've really gone from a balanced coffee to what I would consider to be quite an unbalanced coffee. by agitating that bloom. Yeah, it just really wants to make me soak my cheeks in. It's not unpleasant at all by itself, but in direct comparison to a control coffee, it is quite unpleasant. Now we've let these coffees cool a fair bit now. They're still above ambient temperature, but we're just gonna have another quick taste. First, the control coffee. Yeah, at this temperature, you start to lose a bit of sweetness, but it's still so balanced and it still sits in the middle of the tongue. Now to our test coffee. It still comes with that acidity and it's really not pleasant. It's actually becoming more sour. Last episode, we talked about the relationship between sweetness and acids, but how they're reacting here in this test coffee is really not conducive to a nice balanced beverage. So now we're going to go to a separate style of recipe and we're going to use 1/3 of our brewing water as the bloom. And we're also going to agitate and we're going to test that against my control coffee. Okay, we've got our two coffees again, our control coffee and our test coffee with our 100-gram bloom with agitation. Now, initial inspections has kind of seen that the drawdown time on the test coffee is a little bit faster, probably due to having more weight at the start of the brewing process, more weight of water on the coffee. Also, it seems that the agitation has less effect on the beverage overall with the heavier bloom. So let's jump right in and taste. Okay, so first our control coffee. Yeah, it's completely repeatable. I know the recipe, I do it every day. It's completely repeatable. The jasmine, the florals, the tea-like flavors, where it sits on the tongue, as it should be. So let's go to our test coffee. Okay, first of all, the balance is back. Lengthening out that bloom has really, it's really brought the balance back for the coffee. However, the acidity is still there. The sourness is still there. That sourness that we found in the initial test of agitating the bloom is still there. It's still on the sides of my tongue, but it's not as apparent. A couple of other things to note here in the test coffee. As I said earlier, the balance is back and it's back with the sweetness as well. That's probably conducive to a longer pour in general. You can definitely equate longer pours to more balance in a beverage. And my control recipe is all about that balance. So we're kind of getting more into achieving what I'm trying to achieve with the control coffee in our test coffee with the agitation of that bloom and a longer bloom in general. After doing these two tests and multiple others in recent years, I really can't look past the changes in the acidity that agitating the bloom has brought. It's not a beverage that I want to serve. It's not a beverage that I want to drink because I want balance of sweetness and sour and all that sort of stuff that my control recipe really gives. Now, if you are one that agitates a bloom, please share your recipe with me because I'd love to try it and then we can chat about it. But maybe you haven't tried not agitating the bloom, so you might like to see what kind of beverage you can get by not doing that. So thanks heaps for watching, guys. This was episode 4 of our little modified V60 series. So tune in for next episode when I do something that I haven't thought of yet.